5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
They ain't never seen nothing like this before. Lit the room when I came through the front door. Ask me if I should overcome, what for? Train in the trees, please walk my sycamore. Touch burning sands, cross lands, and stormy shore seasons in the year, yeah. Ain't no challenge for champions and chain no fear. Yeah, the champions here.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode, live episode, in fact, of PALEOCRAT Diaries. I'm your host, Jeremiah Bannister, the one and only, the PALEOCRAT, and I'll tell you, we have an amazing show for you today. There's a whole bunch of goodies coming your way. An hour and a half. I've been told by the higher-ups that I am allowed, that they have cut off a block of time because of the epic nature of this program, obviously, okay? we have a really good time, and for those who are unfamiliar with the program, we have a way that kind of brings in all of the comments from all over the internet to make sure that at the end of the program, when everything is said and done, okay, all the topics have been covered, all that's been said has been said, that we will have a Q&A period. You can go ahead and post your comments. I will try to get through as many as I can, even if it keeps me up into the late of night. And so, I've had an amazing week. I've had an amazing weekend. Keeping busy. I didn't realize how much fun this was going to be. I mean, I guess I should have figured, right? I've done this for a minute. I did it for so long in my life, but it had also been a very long time since I'd, gotten back into the swing of things. And this is brand new to me, the whole concept of doing stuff on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook. It's always just been radio. And I'll tell you, I love this. It's way better. I do miss calls. I'm not going to lie. I miss calls. But there's got to be a way. There's got to be a way that I can tether in phone calls somehow and make it so that in real time people can reach out. I'd have to have some kind of, a call screener. I've always had call screeners all the time. And so anyway, it's just been a whole bunch of fun. And since last week, because I started last week doing this, and the idea was every Monday and Thursday at 10 p.m. And I got through it and I said, man, that was so much fun. And it was so easy that I figured, why not add another day? So I reached out to Jonathan. He's my manager. And I said, yo, bro, you got to let me know, man. Am I able to do, would you be down with the idea? And if not, it's okay. It's all right. But would you be down with the idea of me going another day? So I'd have 3 days where I'd be broadcasting on multiple streams all over the place, right? Catholic Live, that's one of them. I want to say hi to you. And by the way, I want to give a challenge, okay? I want to give a challenge to the folks over at Catholic Live. I love the amens, the affirmations. But I want to see how many different languages, right, that people can put out there with things like, Gloria, things. I don't know if you could say hallelujah. I mean, hallelujah is hallelujah, right? It is. But different languages, because I know there's people coming from all over the place, especially at that channel. So I want to give a big salute to everybody over there. And but I asked my manager, and he said, look, bro, that's what it's all about. And so he's excited about the idea of adding another day. And so now Mondays, Thursdays, and Sundays at 10 p.m., okay? And so we're going to have ourselves, I'm so sorry, Saturdays. Everybody's going to be tuning in on Sunday. What is it on Sunday, man? Put that in the comment section, Jonathan. I've just given free promotion to the other streamer, whoever that is, on Sunday nights. But Saturday nights, okay, not Sunday. That's the Lord's Day for me, right? That's, take it off, because I'm a busy boy. Okay, we're going to talk about a little bit of that. But before we do, I want to encourage you to do something, and it's a little bit off topic, okay? But I talk during the show sometimes about how I have another program that I do. I co-host a show about movies and books and television. We do interviews. We talk about music. It's a wide-ranging thing. Okay, it's not a religious program, if that makes sense. Okay. I'm far more open about and inclusive with my faith into what I'm doing here. than what I do there. Okay, it's strictly about books and things like that. A lot of fiction, right? A lot of movies. My beliefs still inform me, of course. I mean, that's my worldview, right? But I don't. It's not something that I'll deal with people from all different walks of life to talk about books, and so it's strictly about that, books and movies. But it's awesome, and it's tons of fun, and we're trying to reach a certain threshold of subscribers on YouTube, and so I strongly encourage you. Okay, and I encourage you throughout toward the end anyway. I have a screen specifically dedicated that talks about this. But paleo cheese. In fact, I'll just put it up right now. Okay, we're going to put up this split screen, this bad boy. Okay, there we go. Look at that. Look at that. You see that down there in the red? It says Paleo Cheese Podcast. Go find that bugger on YouTube right now. Okay, go on YouTube right now, and you subscribe to that right now. Okay, and check it out. It's fun. It's a whole bunch of fun. Okay, and make sure to go ahead and check out not only the featured video, which I think is pretty awesome. It's one of my favorite ones, the featured video on the channel. We also have one about kind of spooky stories and urban legends, local legends and stuff like that. That's a whole bunch of fun. But you have to check out the Jaws reaction video. I made that with my family, okay? And so my kids are adorable, super dupe cute. Team Tiny Dancer totally rocks. And you'll definitely enjoy that. So I had to say that. Okay. Now, as I was preparing for today, I'm sitting there, I'm going through, I have about a bazillion articles that I would like to talk about. That's actually a problem. I have so many articles, I don't even know where to begin sometimes. I want to talk about this, and I want to talk about that. And not just articles, but books. I got books, especially I got one, How to Watch TV News. And I've threatened for a long time to talk about that particular book by Neil Postman. It's one of the best. He also wrote Amusing Ourselves to Death, which is another must-read for anyone. For anyone. We'll just leave it at that. It's a must-read for anyone, anybody who's involved in any way with technology, and especially those who are interested in culture, who are interested in politics. It's extremely, extremely important. Religion. He has an entire chapter about the impact of visual mediums, including this, right? And he would say that I'm a little bit of a paradox and that I'm promoting that. But I've seen videos where when he was alive, he's no longer with us, but when he was alive on TV shows and having to answer that exact same question. So, but I've threatened for a long time, but I'm going through all these topics to think about, and I've got a bunch for you. Okay. But there's a theme a little bit here. Because I had a conversation with my son. My kids, they like watching the show. They have it up on the big screen upstairs. And my wife had it on, beautiful TV, right, up in the entertainment area. And she's watching it. And my son, my teenager, Athanasius, after everything was done, he came downstairs and he told me he loved the show. Of course, he really enjoys what I do. He's very supportive and encouraging with what I do. But he asked me, right? He's familiar with this stuff. He said, "Do you think, Papa, that with the stuff that you talk about, you might get banned?" And I thought about that. I've thought about that before. I've had a friend of mine, Lawrence. Lawrence asked, I mentioned this on Facebook. I actually posted something on Facebook. You can find me at jeremiah.bannister. But I posted about it. He said, "Well, what would make you think that?" And I'm like, "Have you seen the show?" I know he has. But it's not just have you seen the show, but do you know what's going on? Do you know what's going on? And I have a habit too. Another guy, Dylan, he's the man. Dylan brought this up and said, Jeremiah's got a history, with antagonizing the higher-ups. And it's true. It's mad true. Okay. I ruffle feathers all the time. And you're going to find out. You'll see. Even people who otherwise love the show, there'll be times where they're like, "Bro, I think what you said was really wrong." They're going to get upset, or you shouldn't have said it in that tone or attitude. Well, it's going to happen. Even for my friends, even for the big fanatics, it's going to happen. No, but I had to think about it. And I said, well, if it's possible, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. I could be surprised. I said, but I don't know what, maybe. And he said, "So what you going to do?" And he's just kind of assuming like, well, it's possible. You talk about controversial stuff. You're not always nice. Someone could probably flag you and try to flag you for bullying. It's going to happen. And I thought for a second, and my answer is kind of what we're talking about today. I said, I got to fight like there's no tomorrow. I have to fight like there's no tomorrow. I have to fight like everything right now is on the line, because the truth is, it is. Right now. Right now. The enemy is in the gates. It doesn't matter what level of institutional power you want to talk about. They rule. They rule. Politics, they rule. They rule so much. I mean, Trump, for all intents and purposes, I mean, he's a powerful president. Steamroller. He's like one of those icebreakers, those boats that crash through huge layers of ice, just smashing through, beat up all on the outside. Tough, but beat up. But the truth is, that's because everybody from every angle is coming around him. He dove headfirst into the swamp. That's why we voted for him. But that means the swamp pre-existed him. That's the whole concept. The deep state is there because it's deep not just in level, but in time. Universities. And not just universities. I remember I used to be able to say, universities, and then it turned into universities and high schools. Not anymore. How many times do you turn on the TV, or you don't even have to turn on the TV. How many times do you wake up and you hear the news, you get on email, or a friend calls you and says, did you hear the kids are doing a walkout today? And you're like kindergarten? What? For what? Global warming. Climate change. That's why they're out. They're walking out of kindergarten. It's just one after another after another. There's local schools here. We were getting emails all the time because we made the transition. We send our kids to a private school now, a classical Catholic education. So they learn Latin. They study the classics, the Odyssey, the Iliad, Dante, all that kind of stuff. But during that transition, we were getting emails all the time from the superintendent for our local school, right? The school district here. And I'll tell you, it was crazy. It was one after another. The kids are going to be doing this and doing that to do with, any issue at all. LGBT, fat phobia, guns, climate change, social justice, whatever. They're walking out today. No. Well, and the teachers supported it. So it's not just universities anymore. We're talking kindergarten stuff, man. Of course, you've got Hollywood, the media industry, the news. And there used to be a time where people could say, and maybe this was fake, but they would say, well, local news is different. Local news isn't local news anymore. It's not. It's all owned by these big corporations, and they're all sending their messages down the line. Who was it that had this? It was a great video where it was showing that all these different stations were just on script. They were saying the exact same words, and they'd line them up in all these screens, talking at the exact same time, the exact same words. Those were local. They're toast. And of the one place that you would think, could be big tech. I mean, you can go down the line, all of it. But the one place that you would think it's going to be okay is church. No. It's not okay. There are serious problems. People have been blowing the whistle on this for a long time. But look at it. The world is burning down, and what are the main messages? Black Lives Matter. George Floyd, Greta, climate change, inclusivity, the margins, all that voodoo talk. Inclusivity, accompaniment, blah, blah, blah. Changing things dramatically, accepting things that are mind-boggling, that you say, when? When did the church do this? I get mad. And it's easy to be like, well, I'm going to complain and I'm going to write a snarky thing. And look, I'm down with that. I saw some really funny stuff recently, actually. It was pretty funny. Okay, stuff to do with, this joke website about, and they should do better about saying it's a parody. I mean, maybe it's not. It says it's a 501c3, but I couldn't find anything else. But talking about how white people shouldn't own dogs anymore. That it's racist. It's hilarious. They're taking something and they're driving it to its logical conclusion. Ridiculous statements that are made by the critical race theory crowd. And again, anybody who loves the show, you're going to hear that phrase a lot. If you're not familiar with it, go back after the show. Go back and check out the other episodes. We talk about it. I just saw it today. Breitbart posted something talking about Breitbart. Right? Andrew Breitbart is saying that he is vindicated because he was talking about that stuff shortly before his death. And I said, so was I. Yay for us. Yay for us, for the audience here and the people who've taken this seriously for a long time. In all of the seasons that I've been through in my life, doesn't matter what season, I've been opposed to critical race theory, period. And we're winning on that. There was another one. I saw something in a similar vein, right? A similar vein talking about arguments that are made about colonization, right? And badgering the United States and saying it's got an original sin and we're to blame for all these ills and our founders are irredeemable. And there's a great video, and the video is by White Rabbit TV, and it's hilarious. I got to put it in the description. And if you want to see, because it basically flips it to where the Native Americans are like, look, you can't come take our land. We're Native Americans. And the white people are using the modern lingo of critical race theorists. What are you talking about? You sound really racist. For your people, that sounds really racist. And they're just using the exact same logic and saying the only way the Native Americans could have retained that is if they rejected the ideas and the language used by modern liberals. So I'm down with funny stuff. I like that. But it's time to get serious. It's time to get really serious because things are very serious right now. There was an article in the Federalist. There's an article in the Federalist talking about they're coming after Christianity. They already have been. And what's amazing, and I was part of this. When I was an unbeliever, I was part of this. Saying, oh, these Christian people are saying we're coming after them. Yeah. Amazingly. It didn't take long. See, it's so remarkable. You know how progressive people see about this far in front of their face. And religious people, for all their faults, their intuitions are good. About the way things will go. About the things that will follow if we do X, Y, or Z. But it's happening now. Attacks on churches, attacks on Christians, attacks on our beliefs, on our property, on our rights. So they ain't coming after us next. They've been coming after Christianity next for a minute. And the thing is, I know so many people who, you know, they just kind of They just feel like, well, we just need to just chill. We just need to just pray a lot. And that's true, man. We need to pray more than we've ever prayed before. I'm guilty of this. I need to pray more. I need to be on my knees every single day, crying out to heaven. But it's more than that. We straight up need to fight. Our lives are on the line. Our life, and people can say, well, that's hyperbolic. No, it is not. No, it is not. You can watch as they, what was the church? Was it New York City? Where people, these people at the Mass, there's a Novus Ordo or something, I believe it's a Catholic church, walking up, right? And all of a sudden, a Black Lives Matter activist comes and wham, just punches her right in the face, right in church. For what? For no reason. To prove a point. Ah. How dare you? How many videos have you seen? And if you haven't seen them, you ain't looking at the right places. You're like horse blinder world. Everything is going to be fine. I don't see anything outside of the horse blinders. No. Videos of people going into churches. And it's not just simply the ones by force, it's the ones that have infiltrated. I need to read. I admittedly, I'm not the biggest buddy chum of Taylor Marshall. I like him. Okay, maybe we got off on the wrong foot. Maybe, I don't know. I don't have anything really against the guy, right? But I got to read his book. I got to read the book. Because it's true. We've been infiltrated. We're infiltrated by traitors, treacherous people. People who do not care about tradition. They don't care about dogma. They don't care. Tradition, uppercase or lowercase, don't even care. They're Alinskyeites. Satanic, man. I don't know what to say. People who've infiltrated the church who sit there and it's so easy. And I wonder how often they ask themselves this. Why do they sound more like Nancy Pelosi, for example? Why do they sound more like Saul Alinsky? Why do they sound more like Karl Marx than they do any of the pious popes? Any pope. Take any pope. Why do they sound more like that? What is up with that? Don't they think that's kind of weird? Isn't it? I'll go on further. It's evil. It's bad. So it's not only people from the outside intruding, but it's people from the outside who've infiltrated and now are on the inside, spreading their poison. What you going to do? I mean, I'm preaching to the choir, right? How many? Probably. What you going to do? First of all, I think we need to deal with the people who don't think that we should really do anything. That we just need to just wait it out. There's an article. There's an article by Jim Hoft over at Gateway Pundit. Time to Act. Debunking Christian excuses for inaction in the face of evil. I like how this part here. You are blessed. And think about this. I mean, just close your eyes and meditate on this for a second. For real. And in fact, through this entire episode, I want you to just think of ways in your own heart and in your own mind where you're processing what are your skills, what are your gifts, what are your talents, what are your weaknesses, the things you might not be good at. What are the things that scare you to do, but you feel might be necessary and urgent? What are they? You can answer them for yourselves. Your spiritual directors can help you. You are blessed to be living during one of the most crucial times in our nation's history. It's a time when enemies are being exposed, heroes are being raised up, Allegiances are being revealed. Battles are being waged, and the course of our nation is being decided. Think about that. We already know about our enemies. There's more and more and more. I'm surprised every day by the people who convert to this strange worldview that's taking over and sweeping through the nation right now. It's atheistic. But it's surprising to me. You know, I was an atheist, and I went through certain things in my life, and I've talked about it in my testimony. You can see that over at Meaning of Catholic with Timothy Flanders. It's also on PALEOCRAT on YouTube. You should go there and subscribe. You should subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's on there. It's in, I believe it's in PALEOCRAT Diaries. It might also be in Meaning of Catholic, the playlist. I have playlists lined up. But the things that I went through, right? I'm seeing people who don't go through a number of things that are devastating, cataclysmic. And of course, I don't know what's in their heart, but it's surprising to see certain individuals. I'm seeing more and more and more. Heroes are being raised up. Yes. Yes. You know, I see heroes all the time. I see heroes all the time whenever my kids go into school. Whenever I put my children to bed, I see heroes. Ones that are being raised to do amazing things. World-changing things. My wife, she's due, 9 days now? She's raising up heroes. Allegiance is being revealed. You know, it's amazing, good and bad. I'm finding myself now working alongside a whole bunch of people that previously I didn't know. But we have things in common. We have a vision in common that we want to see Christ reign. We know he's reigning now, but we want to see his reign here. We want to destroy the enemy. Battles are being waged. We see this all the time. The course of a nation is being decided. That's the thing. It is not time for spectators. Now he talks about how there's a bunch of people who say, look, you know, they have Bible verses, in fact, that they use. And he wants to deal with, Jim Hoft over Gateway Pundit wants to tackle some of these and say, you can't use these arguments because they're garbage, okay? You are misinterpreting the scripture and what it means to use this as an excuse for apathy. Maybe out of fear. Maybe you're chicken, yellow belly. But you're hacking apart the meaning of scripture. And I got to read this part. I wasn't going to read it. I was going to skip over, but I'll read it. He says, it's also a slap in the face of our nation's founders to be inactive, right? To have this kind of apathy. One of the greatest ironies of our time is that we Christians who claim to admire and to appreciate the founders of this nation are giving up without a fight. The very things they fought and died to obtain for us. Our celebrations of their heroic efforts and sacrifice ring hollow when in response to our nation being under siege, we do nothing. It's amazing. You know how many people who are doing absolutely nothing were livid that they couldn't shoot off fireworks on the 4th of July because of certain lockdown measures? They don't get it. It's all left at the place of symbol, and that's it. And look, symbol's important. Don't get me wrong. Right? Extremely important. There's a reason why the standard is carried in war. There's a reason why the national anthem, one of the most hopeful verses, that our flag is still there. But there were also bombs bursting in air. Through the night. People died. People fought. People prayed. Could there be a more telling contrast between the founders and ourselves? Probably not. Probably not. Now, here are some of the arguments. And I want to tackle these too because I thought this is a good list. It's handy dandy. God is in control, so I don't have to do anything. Who's heard this? Raise your hand. Who's heard people go, look, God's in control, man? I don't know. Might be the rapture coming soon. Who's heard that about this? Those who use God's sovereignty to justify doing nothing while our nation is under siege are misusing the scripture. Understatement. That's an understatement. If God did not want us to have an active role in his plans, he would not have called us to action repeatedly throughout the scripture. Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. You know, if God didn't want us to do anything, why would he give us so many examples of people that did things? How often do you have the example of the person that's like, and then I sat around and did nothing, and everything came to pass? You know, like, there are certain times where you should be still to know that he's God, so that once you know that he's God, you know that you aren't. And once you know that you aren't, then you realize he's boss, and he tells you what to do. And part of what he tells you what to do is to go out. Obedience. Turn the other cheek. Who's heard that? Who's had anybody in the comment section? Put it in there. We'll talk about it. Turn the other cheek does not apply. Turning the other cheek is not about taking every slight to heart. Is about not taking every slight to heart. About not taking revenge, and about returning evil with good when appropriate. Matthew 5:39, Romans 12:19, 1 Thessalonians 5:15. It has nothing to do with voluntarily turning our nation over to those who despise everything it stands for and are intent on replacing its righteous principles with unrighteous ones. Yes! Because we're not fatalists. Well, I guess if the authoritarian dictator technocracy wants to come into power, what's a guy gonna do? Go and vote. Write about it. Write letters to the editor. Cancel a subscription to something. Do something. And pray the whole time. You're supposed to be praying without ceasing. Submit to the authorities does not apply here. Now, this is a good one. Passages like 1 Peter 2:13 through 17 or Romans 13:1 through 7. These are not a blanket command to always submit to authorities in every situation. Rather, they are general admonitions to be applied under certain conditions. Note that Peter clearly states in verse 14 that the authorities in question recognize the difference between good and evil, and they commend the good. Same thing with Romans 13. Same thing with Romans 13. It's not like, well, they wield the sword, therefore everything they do. No. Through the act of obeying the authorities, believers help maintain their freedom to do good. 1 Peter 2:14, Romans 13 again. This is also not the case today. Rather than maintaining it, our obedience, played out in silence and in action, is costing us the freedom to do good. And look, this is exactly what I was telling my children. You know, when I was talking to my son. And I sat them all down and I said, look, you know, there are times where debate and just leaving it at kind of a fun house styled thing is good. Right? There's a role for all of that. There's a role, in fact. Look, I'm involved with meaningofcatholic.com with Timothy Flanders. I'm involved with that. That whole idea is taking on enemies of the church. It debates heresy. They're heresy hunters, okay? That's what they do. They go after heretics within and without the church proper. But that whole exercise, that entire exercise, and that's true all over the place. You can find tons of these. Look at Church Militant. Look at Taylor Marshall. Look at Steve Skojic. By the way, Steve, if you're watching, got the headphones on, buddy? My little Skojies. I really hope that we can just water under the bridge, man. You seem like a decent guy. In fact, I think I think I'd like you, and I'd hope you'd like me too. Right? But I see what these guys do. And you see the kind of discussions and the debates that they have. That's extremely important. But it happens within in a framework, right? An arena wherein debate's allowed. Where debate just doesn't automatically turn into a gun. And right now, okay, we're all sitting in here doing the debate thing. And the savages are coming in, burning the whole place down and saying, no more debate here. No more debate. No more logic and reason. Linear thinking, blah. If you don't agree with our worldview, you're a Nazi. And first it was punch them. Next it was, well, I think maybe I could shoot them. Throw bricks at their faces. The arena wherein those debates are happening, philosophically, architecturally, all of it, schools are being taken over. Philosophically, legally, the way the world is moving right now. It's becoming such a thing that this crazy worldview is starting to loom. It's a specter. And it's coming up with its fangs, and it's saying, listen and absorb. Listen and absorb all that we're telling you. And if you dare to defy it, if you dare to call it out and say it's wrong, they will call you the absolute worst possible thing that they can imagine in their world. Because the devil's gone. There's no devil for them anymore. And they will fight tooth and nail to make sure that anybody labeled that they get banned. They get censored. They get deplatformed. That their employees, I'm going to call your employee and tell him. I'm going to tell him you don't agree with me. And they're going to pressure and pressure and pressure. I've seen it. I see it every day. I see so many people who are terrified to say the things that I'm saying. My son was not out of his mind with his question. Will you get banned? And what will you do? Moment of decision. We stand at the same inflection point today that our founders were. Our freedom to follow and obey God is actively being undermined and eroded before our eyes by the very authorities established to protect it. The freedom to speak the truth, to preach the word of God, follow our convictions, and evangelize the lost is being aggressively challenged in the courts, in the public square, by the education system, by the media. Yet alarmingly, the governing authority is established to uphold our God-given rights enshrined in the Constitution and act as a bulwark between such an onslaught and our freedom. They can no longer be trusted to do so. That adds to the urgency. It adds to the urgency. Because the systems that were put in place, as imperfect as they were, look, I've got criticisms of the founders. I've got criticisms of the American system. I'm not rabid in my nationalism, my country right or wrong. There is a point to that. I don't want it gone. I'll fight to deal with that. But the thing is, these institutions that traditionally have been there to protect us, where are they? Where are they? You know, there was a lady running for office here in Michigan. I supported her. Okay, I voted for her, in fact. And I went to her meeting and I asked her, what are the Republicans doing about COVID? And about Gretchen Whitmer, our governor. I said, what? I said, I feel like so much of what you guys are doing, the Republicans, I feel like so much of it is pageantry, right? It's like power politics. You're saying, well, it's going to make her, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And I said, that's fine. It's necessary. I guess I kind of, she took it as if I was, critical even of that. I mean, they are, for example, suing the governor. Great. What about now? What about right now? Like, what do we do? What can people do who are losing their jobs, who are losing their lives? And this is just an example. To say, look, when a system goes, when a system's falling apart, those checks and balances, look, there's no checks and balances. What kind of checks and balances are in place with these executive orders that just get extended over and over and over and over? I mean, technically, if a judge was down, this could go on for how long? Checks and balances just burned. But what do you do in the meantime? You say, well, okay, you're bringing them to court. You're bringing her to court. Great. What about all the people? So let's stretch this out. Say, look, okay, you're running for office. Great. What happens if you lose? And what should we do in the meantime beyond just simply supporting you? In that case, where you're going to that level, it's a double doozy. I mean, honestly, we would be beholden to do more than one thing. Imagine that. What do we do? What can we put in place to protect ourselves? What can the church do? I'm really fortunate to go to a parish that's amazing. Absolutely amazing. The kind of things that they've put in place, even predating the whole McCarrick scandal and all the perversion, the sicko crap that these people are doing with boys. But the kind of safeguards and measures that are put in place, not just to protect, but to move forward and to advance. Powerful stuff. We need that all across the board. The question is, what can you do? And this is where it got me thinking. What can we do? And let me say this on a positive note, right? Speaking of Steve Skojec, if you haven't gone to 1 Peter 5, go check that thing out. Okay? They can get a little bit grumpy, but I think, I don't blame them. I don't blame them. I think Steve's got a good heart. I mean, if you follow him on Twitter, I can't even tell you how many times I've seen him, lament the fact that being on Twitter makes him angry and that it's easy to get agitated and into fights. And that says something, I think, about Steve. And I know that that's the same with Tim Flanders and others, that they lament that. Same thing with LifeSite or Church Militant. They can be kind of grumpy, but we need them. We need them. But he says there's a bright side to this. More and more, it looks like tradition is the future of the church. If you haven't read it, go check it out. Again, that's 1peter5.com. 1 and 5 are both spelled out. And he's talking about these statistics. And think about it. Many of you have heard him already. He says the vast majority of Catholics aren't even really Catholic anymore. Regular Sunday Mass attendance, according to Pew data, is a measly 22%. Only a third of Americans believe in the real presence. So some polling data suggests that as many as 98% of Catholic women who've engaged in sexual relations have used contraception, and 87% are using it right now. As for hot button issues, other ones, more from Pew, 65% of American Catholics think employers who have a religious objection to birth control should be required to provide it to employees anyway. Those people don't even know what they're talking about. 54% said businesses that provide wedding services should be required to offer them to same-sex couples. 47% said transgender people should be allowed to use whichever public restroom they most identify with. 67% of Catholics approve of gay marriage. 51% approve of abortion. That's where we are. He says, meanwhile, traditional parishes aren't just growing, they're exploding. And there's a whole bunch of data to back this up. Now I'm going to skip over his his poll that he did. What did he call it? What did he say about this? An informal poll. It wasn't just informal, man. It was on your Twitter, man. But he brings up a great point. With an influx of new people, not all of them having read their way into tradition, those of us already on the ground have some work to do to help them find their place. Now, he wrote something about that. People can go check it out. Let's see what that one is. Let's go see. So if you want to find it, there it is. For the regular Catholic curious about tradition, go ahead and check that one out. But I got thinking about it. And I thought, what are things we can do? Because a lot of people will go, look, you've mentioned running for office. You've mentioned, kind of heavy-hitting things. It's simpler than that. I love this guy. Saint Jose Maria Escriva, the saint of ordinary life. This is over at the Imaginative Conservative. But I love this quote. Everyday life is the true setting for your lives as Christians. Think about that. Your ordinary contact with God takes place where your fellow men, your yearnings, your work, and your affections are. Your ordinary contact with God. So whatever you're doing in your life, there you have your daily encounter with Christ. It's in the midst of the most material things of the earth that we must sanctify ourselves, serving God and all mankind. God is calling you to serve him in and from, let me scooch down here, in and from the ordinary, material, and secular activities of human life. That's liberating. That's liberating. Because you can sit there and you can think, well, what you're saying then is I can do what I'm doing, but do it in a way that maximizes the glory of God to the greatest degree possible, and start to ask myself regularly, fervently, am I recognizing instances where God has brought someone to me? Am I recognizing, even in myself and the stuff that I do, am I recognizing that what I'm doing is either advancing the cause or it's not? Am I stagnant? I was for a long time. I put a lot of work into this show. I put a lot of work into writing. I put a lot of work into family. Every single thing that I have, my marriage, my raising my children. There ain't no more sitting around, but I had to think. How lazy am I? Saint Jose Maria Escriva. If you haven't read him, I strongly implore you. I strongly. In fact, yeah, I have a book, I guess it's upstairs. Right? The Way, the Furrow, and the Forge. Great books. Powerful. And they're small. They're these snippets. There's snippets about all different sorts of topics. But each and every one is so practical for the everyday person. And it's challenging. I mean, it's like a fist to the gut every day. I read these things and I'm like, brain just... But think about that. St. Jose Maria's message for us is that God wants all of us to become saints. And for most Catholics, this will not involve leaving one state in life. It will not involve leaving the world. I know a lot of people who probably think, what? I don't have to become a monk? No. I don't have to become a priest or something? A nun? A hermit? No. Spouses and professional occupations are not obstacles to sanctity, but become the very means, the hinge of sanctification. So it's not just simply the impact it has on others, but the impact it has on you. And the impact that God is having on you is going to affect others. It's an all-around good. It will be precisely by learning to find God through our spouse, in family life, in our daily work, that we can become saints. Moreover, these ordinary aspects of daily life become the occasions of apostolate, of helping those we encounter day in and day out to draw closer to God. We won't be able to do this, however, without frequent recourse to Jesus in the Eucharist, in confession, and in set times of prayer. And we need to do all this. We need to do all this because we are living right now in an onslaught of wickedness. I spent way more time talking about this subject than I anticipated. It's not always going to be so religious-y. I like talking news, man. I like talking news. I like talking journalism. We're going to for a moment here. I have a little more time tonight, so we can, buckle your seatbelts. We got a little bit more time. But the truth is, I had to talk about this. I had to say this. I'm gonna have certain followers who are gonna be like, look, man, you kind of sound like you're like, Dominion oriented. A little bit, yeah. Christ is the king. But I'm also in survival mode. I'm watching the church under attack from within and without. And I have to do something. We all do. And I don't think that these unbelievers, I don't think that they fully grasp. In fact, I know they don't. I know that they do not grasp the magnitude of the problem. This Nibiru-sized problem coming their way. Bwam! They never see it. Or if they do, they simply suppress it. Exchanging truth for a lie. Time after time after time. But see, here's the thing. This is, I guess, one of the last things I'll say about this. It's not enough for people doing what we're doing here. Okay, people online, people who engage in discussion and debate, things beyond just simply living your everyday life in a way like St. Jose Maria is talking about. But saying that right now, that's an ordinary life. What about an ordinary life in an emergency situation, a battle station moment? What about that? It has to be multifaceted. It has to be multifaceted, where on the one hand, we're using arguments. And yet on the other hand, we're realizing that arguments aren't what's doing it. Arguments are essential. But we need to begin preaching Christ crucified. We're at that place. We always need to preach Christ crucified. But right now especially. And that's going to be hard because we're going to have to look at people who want to just engage us on this pseudo-intellectual level. And we're going to talk about why it's so pseudo-intellectual and why this is fake and why the real issue is sin in the heart. And people can say, how dare you blame it on sin? How dare you blame what's going on as if I've got sin in my life? Yes, you do have sin in your life. You do, and you know it. Deep down inside, you know it. And the only way that you can get around it is by saying there's no such thing as sin. That what's bad is good. That what you tolerate, you've learned to celebrate because it's the only way. It's the only way that you can live that way without searing your conscience or just burning. But it's already toast. We can offer arguments all day long. Well, I think the reason why the universe was created by a first cause, blah, blah, blah. That's not cutting to the heart. You're missing the point. You need to do that. I don't want to dog people for making, the proofs for God's existence. But at the same time, if sin is absent, and if you're ashamed to bring it up, because someone will say, well, I used to do this. When Christians would come to me and talk to me, I'd say, well, dude, what do you got some kind of magic crystal ball? How do you know? And you know what none of them said? And this breaks my heart. None of them said, because God. Because you're a human. The thing is like, how does this person have this, this kind of oracle to be able to see and penetrate the heart? The person doesn't. But the person believes in revelation, and revelation is from God, and God sees all to the heart. And I don't know a single person that could say, you know what, no, if you really go down and look deep into it, it's just purely philosophical. It's purely this. Baloney. For one, that's bad philosophy. Read Haidt. Read the entire field that is learning more and more and more that these feelings are preceding so much of what we reason with, and that our reason is this kind of press secretary defending, an apologist defending our decisions by constructing all of these arguments, intuitions. So the rationalism dynamic of this is it's gross, poop scoops, bad philosophy. So you can't say, well, I'm relying on that. No, you aren't. Liar. I don't want to say liar, right? Well, yeah, in a way. In a way. Self-deceit, boy, oh boy. It's a heck of a drug. But it's because we're up against so much. We're up against all these different, individual basis, right? Individual basis, your friends, your family. You got to deal with this. But it's bigger than this. And we got to deal with the enemy. Speaking of an enemy, self-deceived, or just, and this is the good question, like, is this person self-deceived? This would be a great question. This is not a strictly religious question. Olivia Krauth. Let's see, who is Olivia? Let's see who she is. So here's Olivia, education reporter for the Courier Journal. Quoted in the dictionary. Okay. Contrary to popular belief, journalists don't just make stuff up. And that was in response to someone saying anonymous sources may or may not exist. Yeah, obviously true. Yeah, but contrary to popular belief, journalists don't just make stuff up. People don't just make stuff up. You serious? So even on a professional level, moving beyond the level of just the interpersonal, let's look for a second here at what we're dealing with and think and broaden it now, okay? We've talked about yourself and what you can do, right? What you can do with just what you've got right now, without any other inputs, just right now. What's your vocation? What do you do with your life? What do you do? Your family, your friends, your church, your job, you name it. And then we moved beyond that. Your school. Start moving it at institutional level, schools and churches. You start asking those questions and go, okay, so if I do this for my living, what else can that possibly apply to? And what are we up against? We're up against weirdos like this. So I responded. I said, wow, Olivia sucks at journalism. And so this is me being snarky. Okay. A simple Google search would have sufficed. Here, let's help her out. I have a whole list. I can't scroll down any more than that. That upsets me. Got to figure out how to do that. Let me see if I can. Well, I don't want to play that. So the thing is, there's a whole bunch. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A whole bunch. There's a lot more than that of people who lied. Now, maybe she's just, maybe she's oblivious. Maybe she's one of those reporters that doesn't know jack. It's possible. So you got to call it out. But the institution you're dealing with, this is what they think of themselves. Or at least that's what they say of themselves. They ought to know better. In fact, I would dare say that she knows better than this. And if she doesn't, maybe she should find another line of work. Replace her with somebody who's going to take journalism seriously for the glory of God, right? Find another job, Olivia. This is what you're up against. This is what our team is up against. On a political level, Obama appointed deep state officials, illegally monitored conservative enemies in 2019. Remember this lady? Ronald McDonald's twin sister. Remember that chick? Okay. Look at that face. If you'd seen her, you'd never forget her, right? Apparently, they've been spying. And it took Judicial Watch to figure it out. See, Tom Fitton's a guy that's trying to use his skills to the best of his ability. This guy, man, is on it every day. Use him as a great example of this, just from a purely vocational standpoint. This guy, how many articles every day? Judicial Watch is, another FOIA, another FOIA, another FOIA. He's on shows all the time. The guy is everywhere. Breaking news all the time. Kicking tail. Officials at the U.S. Embassy in Kiev ordered the monitoring of 13 prominent American social media accounts during the early days of the Ukraine scandal. Look at that. Yeah, those people in 2019, and later they were informed that their activities potentially violated the Privacy Act. Of course they did. It's amazing. I got to get down here. Right here. By April 1st, 2019, the embassy appears to have been instructed to cease the social media monitoring by officials in Washington. And listen, this quote is so great. Thank you so much for alerting everyone of this issue. We appreciate you shutting down the automated report. Unbelievable. And of course they were saying, well, we didn't know. It's just an old school way, It seemed faster than the old school way of manually doing it. Yes. Cutting corners. Enemies cheat. This is great. Amanda Milius, a former senior advisor and deputy assistant secretary in the early Trump State Department, told Just the News that she was alerted by State Department leadership about the embassy's social media monitoring early on. And she was assured the embassy was instructed to stop the activity targeting Americans because it violated federal law. And this quote, she wins, right, for the day. Personally, I find it hard to believe that senior communication officials at Post were not aware of the limitations of the Privacy Act. Kind of hard, you think? Because all communications employees and contractors are very well versed on what they're allowed and not allowed to do. Yes. Yes. And this is how the enemies play the game. Not just politically, religiously, culturally. Look at how it plays out here. Learn the enemy. Know yourself. Learn the enemy. Know thy enemy. Figure out. Say, look, this is who they are. This is who I am. This is what I can do. This is what they're doing. Here's what I can do, not just to defend, but to counteract. Democrats are now using Pentagon-funded artificial intelligence to combat online efforts by Trump supporters to promote President Trump. Now, listen, I'm not even going to go into this too much, other than to say this is creepy. This is creepy. And this is the kind of thing that a longer discussion when we're not already, what time is it? 11:07. You know, when discussions like this, sorry about that. I thought that I had the I thought I had the slide up. So, man, you guys haven't even been able to see. We got to go back. I'm so sorry. We got to go back. We're not going to go over everything, but look, I got to show you this. I didn't realize this. Look at this. That's the Ronald McDonald look-alike. That's what I'm talking about. Oh. I should just keep it on this screen all the time. I should. It's a good screen. It's a good screen. But the idea here, okay, this was published by Stars and Stripes. It's a military-related publication. And they talk about this, and it all goes back. And I'll do an entire show, right? Because as I said, like this show, this particular program here, way more religious in nature than I ordinarily do. And I mean, every show that I do is to some degree or another religious. But it all goes back to this, right? Propaganda bill in Congress could give America its very own Ministry of Truth. Tyler Durden over at zerohedge.com. It's Obama-era stuff. It's Orwellian. What they're going to do. You know, once the intelligence community and others have said and branded, and they did this back when Trump was running. When Trump was running, they peddled this. Do you guys remember? What was it? The assessment. I mean, that assessment was so phony baloney. It was acting like it was new information about what Russia was doing to us. Every bit of it was public. And not only public, but so much of it was gobbledygook. It was saying like, Russia wants to divide people and make people who support third parties to basically kind of be their useful idiots. You kidding me? Our institutions have literally lost the trust, not because of Russia, but because of what we read in our own newspapers all the time. What we see on the TV every day, what we see in our churches. That whole thing was a joke. I remember telling my buddy, I said, look, my co-host at the time, I was on radio and I said, do you not see how this assessment actually impacts us? We fall in with so much of what that assessment was talking about. This show here does. Welcome to Happy Fun Time, kiddos. Right? You're going to be in for a good ride. We'll do good. You keep spreading this news. We'll do good. But it goes back to this. And we'll talk about it because I think that, in this right here, yeah, the unconstrained analytics. I mentioned this on the last show, talking about a guy named, and I didn't say his name is Rich Higgins. This is brilliant. People who are really serious about understanding what's going on, not just with Trump, but with the attack against those who support him. Think about this. This is not a joke. Think about how many people who helped the Trump train in 2016, making memes, articles, blogs, videos, documentaries, anything. How many of them are gone? They're still alive. They started out by being shadow banned. Then it was just straight up censored. Then it was blocked. And now you can't even share their links. I've tried sharing a couple links on Facebook. I've tried. I'm notified you're not allowed to share that, naughty boy. Naughty, naughty. But we have to dedicate an entire show to this, because the thing is that this requires tactics of Christian and conservative and traditional resistance, period. And a lot of the tactics, I mean, look, I personally believe that it is overdue to kind of go back even to tactics that, you know, most people wouldn't think about. You know, like old technology, for example. You know, everybody's like, well, let's connect on Facebook. We're using these new mediums. We're falling in line with that. But I think we're at a point where it's kind of like Little House on the Prairie. There was an episode where the storm comes in and everything, and it destroys the farm, and Charles is devastated, and his wife, she has to come up with this idea. All the wives are together, and they're all devastated because they don't know what they're going to do. And what do? They say, well, you know, how are we going to salvage all this, you know, all the grain? What are we going to do? They came up with Ruth. The book of Ruth. Doesn't the Bible have something that can help us remember these stories? And they used antiquated technology, and they were able to survive. That's one tactic of Christian resistance. And I think that one way that people could do it, they could go check out, what is it, freebooks.com? I don't know if it's freebooks.com. Look up Gary North Free Books. Free, as in doesn't cost. He has a book called Tactics of Christian Resistance. It's written, I think, in like, 1980? So, I mean, a lot of this technology that they're talking about, I mean, it's so antiquated, a lot of people might not even know what this stuff is. But the thing is, this may be where we got to go. It's kind of like the small group deep state party, all right? The small group, the scheme team that was coming against Trump in 2016, utilizing a ham radio. Yeah. So go read this. We'll talk about it on another episode, but you got to read this, okay? POTUS and Political Warfare, a.k.a. Higgins Memo. It's genius. And you're seeing the coordination of this on a political level, on a religious level. Look at the coordination. For the people who mainly follow for religious reasons, think of the coordination that you saw. And the kind of like, man, well, how is it that all these people, the same old crew, the Pervert Incorporated, how are they getting in to all of these primo spots with the Vatican, or the primo spots with the Amazon Synod, or whatever? The family. What? Are you kidding? Isn't that the guy that did the tweet about, you know, blaming it on, you know, saying mushy stuff to his sister or something? What a sicko. But how do they do that? What are the odds, man? What are the odds that the same old gang all the time? And what are the odds that the same old district, right? The Southern District of New York, or this specific judge is dealing with this case, and whoa, she's got another one, right? No conflict of interest. And you're like, how is this possible? For the same reason that this was. Remember we talked about this last show? About the idea that Trump said he basically hates veterans and stuff? Right? Why do we side with the Allies in World War? The stupidest junk. And you go, wow, look at this. It's an amazing article. Who wrote it? Joel Pollack over at Breitbart. He's talking about more interesting than the details was how in the world this thing was rolled out. He said it has the appearance of a well-coordinated, well-executed campaign of disinformation. Oh, yeah. No doubt. The article was published Thursday evening. By Friday morning, a left-wing group called Vote Vets had not only produced an ad based on the article, really? But they aired it on Morning Joe. No, it's not coordinated. These people are spirit cookers, man. These people are eating food off of actors' bodies that are pretending to be dead with blood and guts. Smearing pig semen and urine all over paintbrushes and writing esoteric nonsense on walls. Snake tails in their nose. What do you think, man? Performing the cremation of care. Defending that. Oh, it's fine. Cremation of care is fine. Oh, how dare you talk about that? Bohemian Grove. It's not really a human sacrifice. We're just pretending to sacrifice a human at the altar with fire raging and screaming blood. Oh, you're only pretending? Of course this is what they are, man. These people are schemesters. Don't believe them. Oh, went all across social media, trended on top of Twitter. I wonder if Twitter is on the quick dial. It was shared widely on Facebook, all without any fact checks that typically accompany disputed news. Man, what a coincidence. Give me a break. This is the enemy. This is the enemy. Look at their plans. The Biden campaign issued a statement Thursday night. And listen to what he said. If the revelations in today's Atlantic article are true, if the anonymous, and listen to what he says, if the revelations. They're only revelations if there's not an if, man. If the things that were revealed. If they're fake, it wasn't revealed, man. It was just simply concocted. So look at the words. And don't just blow by them. Think about the way that people will deal with hearing these words. Think about it. He held a press, right? A press call on Friday morning. The press call involved, among others, Khizr Khan, the Gold Star father who attacked Trump in 2016. Oh, go figure. They got it all lined up, man. This was rolled out, boys. They knew it. It's amazing. At the end of the presentation, Biden turned to his campaign staff, who chose which reporters would be allowed to ask questions and in what order. The first question went to Edward Dovier, who writes for, surprise, The Atlantic. Yay! It's a joke. Know your enemy. And it all started, look at this. Know your enemy, this guy. Dun, dun, dun. Look at his face. Look at his face. You just know he's causing problems. I don't know, problems like the war in Iraq. The Atlantic journalist spreading fake news about Trump's military remarks was a key Iraq war media propagandist. He wasn't just a media propagandist. He wrote an article back in 2002 arguing that Iraq was the Great Terror, right? Saddam Hussein was guilty of genocide. Iraq had possible ties to Al-Qaeda. Yeah, that's the guy. Of course, virtually everything. This is bigleaguepolitics.com, by the way. Check them out. Of course, virtually everything Goldberg said turned out to be false. Oh, imagine that. Like that list of people that I talked about earlier, and I didn't mention that. I didn't show it. So here's that whole thing about Olivia. Remember I said Olivia Kraut earlier on? The education reporter for Courier Journal. There she is right there. That smile on her face. But I have a whole list. You got to go check it out. Twitter.com/PALEOCRAT. You can see it right now. In fact, if you're watching right now, you may be watching right now on Twitter. And if you are, I want to thank you for tuning in. He received a bunch of flack, in fact, so much that he wrote, yes, I know. I started the Iraq War. But he was just defending it. That's all he was doing. And more recently, Goldberg was pushing the Russian collusion narrative. Recently? Oh, yeah, that's right. I've seen them roll that bugger back out. Have you heard that? I was accused of being a Putin stooge. I mean, sure, me and Vlad go way back. I've been invited to soirees. Здравствуйте. Da. Yeah. Been accused of being on the roll. I still haven't gotten the rubles. Is it rubles? I'm waiting, though. Know your enemy. Judicially, know your enemy. Judge orders Detroit police not to use batons, tear gas against protesters for 2 weeks. And it was amazing. My wife actually shared an article. It's not in here. I don't have that one. Talking about the way that the news worded it, the way that the journalist worded it. I wanted to reach out to that person and just say, you really are bad at what you do, or you're really good, but I'm better, right? I'm teaching people how to spot you. I'm teaching an audience of people, far and wide. I am teaching them how to spot this, to catch those little sneaky, devious things that you do by using certain phrases. Saying they're not allowed to use, the Detroit police are no longer allowed to use batons and tear gas on peaceful protesters. They never did. They never did one time. Know your enemy. Know your enemy here. Study by researchers at UCLA and Stanford find coronavirus 10 times less fatal than first thought. And I make a mistake sometimes. I said there were only 6,000 deaths. I'm incorrect. There were 9,000. It was 6%. 6%. Just related, just as the result of COVID alone. Listen to this. Estimates of the individual probabilities of COVID-19 infection, hospitalization, and death vary widely, but may not align with public risk perceptions. Kind of like when we talked in one of the earlier episodes about black men who were activists at a rally, at a protest, talking and being interviewed about how many black men are unarmed black men are killed by police in 2019, and they were off big time. They were saying like 1,500, man. No, whoa, whoa on that. And think about how that affects people. I mean, obviously they're loon birds now. They're outside being afraid that they won't even be able to sleep anymore. Because there might just be some cop walking around for random reasons saying, you're a black guy, boom. Same thing with this. When people have crazy thoughts and they don't know the true number, they're like, maybe you should wear a mask while you sleep alone in the house. Cuckoo crazy people. Dr. Badier wrote this about his findings. We were surprised how low the relative risk was. After months of living with COVID-19, we have more certainty. True. Give it to him. The virus is 10 times less fatal than we first thought. It's fraud, man. Fauci and them, I'm telling you, these people, they don't, I almost hope that they're sued and the living daylights is sued out of them, that they are publicly shamed and lose their job, because the fact is, if they don't, I have a feeling the people are going to lose their mind and start boom. People have lost their jobs, they've lost their homes, they've lost their livelihood, their dreams, everything they sacrificed for. Why? Because of cuckoo crazy people. Because of people who don't believe in science, who say that they do, but they're liars again. Know your enemy. Know your enemy. They're talking about California. I mean, this is big time. California counties have not needed mutual health aid. That's right. Hospitals retooled quickly for a tsunami that never came. Kind of like the surge here in Michigan. How many articles? People should go back. I should go back. I should find out how many times local papers and everything else that they wrote and used the idea that in 2 weeks the surge is going to come. Hide your wife, hide your kids. COVID's infecting everybody out there. They were wrong. Know your enemy. Nurse mistakes pregnant transgender man as obese. Then the man births a stillborn baby. This is an old article, but I want you to look at this, and I want you to, again, think of what we talked about earlier. Think about the nature of this war, the nature of the urgency. Not only of the situation outside of yourself, but within, and what you need to do. How bad is this? What does this mean? USA Today. Marilyn Marchione, obviously a cuckoo bird. Marilyn is a cuckoo, crazy wacko. Listen to this. When the man arrived at the hospital with severe abdominal pain, so right away when the man arrived, a nurse didn't consider it an emergency, noting that he was obese and had stopped taking blood pressure medicine. Yeah, I mean, that's okay. In reality, he was pregnant. Look at this. Look at this. Meditate on it. Meditate on that nonsense, man. In reality, I mean, it isn't. Part of me wants to freaking give up. I read this stuff all the time, and I'm like, whoa, this is the medical field. Oh, it gets worse. He was in labor that was about to end in stillbirth. See, this is where it can make me a terrible person too, because part of me wants to go, oh, and a man ending in stillbirth. No, it's a woman, man. This is a woman. Mutilated her body. But in reality, woman. Points to a larger issue about assigning labels or making assumptions. I mean, okay. So like being like, look, assigning labels like transgender man, just say woman. In medicine, there's a similar danger of missing diseases like sickle cell and cystic fibrosis that largely affect certain racial groups. Is there? Is there really? Is this like a Sean King joke or what is this? What is this? Oh, Dr. Daphne Strumza of the University of Michigan. Oh, we know about Dr. Daphne. He was rightly classified a man. No, he wasn't. In the medical records, and he appears masculine. What do you mean he appears masculine? But that classification threw us off from considering his actual medical needs. Now maybe, look, maybe I'm being rude about Dr. Daphne. I I might be mistaking Dr. Daphne for another. I don't think so, though. I have a feeling that I'm feeling Dr. Daphne. Let me see. Okay. We'll look up Dr. Daphne here in a second and see if that's the one I'm talking. Transgender men who are considered female at birth but who identify as male may or may not be using these hormones and getting their womb removed. We all know that. A woman showing up with similar symptoms would almost surely have been triaged and evaluated more urgently for pregnancy-related problems. Yes. Which is what should have happened with this woman. I'm not meaning just to dog this person. Right? Of course, they don't mention who this person is. But I'm saying, look, again, know the enemy. Know this philosophy. Know these ideas that are literally undermining our whole ability to even know what reality is. Again, back to the beginning. Here we go. Boom. For those who say, well, that's not really relevant. What do you know? Come on. Why are you dogging this thing? Because this right here. In reality, he was pregnant. No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. Look at this. New England Journal of Medicine points to the larger issues. They go on forever. Go on forever. WorldNet Daily. David Kapelian reveals how the left's aversion to truth is all-encompassing. He goes line after line after line. How a baby, right here, today's Democratic Party insists that a beautiful full-term human baby just about to be born is not really a human being. Like it has a magical moment. The magical moment when it comes out and all of a sudden it's transformed. Magic. No, dude. It's been a baby the whole time, homie. They passionately warned that the entire Earth will become uninhabitable within 10 years due to global warming. Unless, of course, America goes full totalitarian socialist right now and adopts their Green New Deal. Know your enemy. The modern Democratic Party likewise contends that there are dozens of different genders. No. Infinite. Fluidity, by definition, the whole concept of fluidity. Who's going to put the end marks on? Once you do, those are going to be challenged. And if you don't accept that, you're just a raging bigot. Who do you think you are, mister? It's going to go on and on and on. Yet these are the people that will call us science deniers, climate deniers. Listen to the scientists and follow the data. Like our governor who said, listen to the science, avoid large crowds, stay inside because the virus won't spread if you're not out there. And then what does she do? She goes to a Black Lives Matter protest and is knelt down in a picture with a bunch of people around her who aren't wearing masks. What a joke. Know your enemy. And all of this stuff and more, those on the left. And for the purpose of this, we're going to end. I'll end on this. I'll save the fat. I'll save that for another time. This is also know your enemy, right? Lift some weights, man. Get on that bike. Go take a walk. Sleep better. Wake up earlier. Stop eating that candy, man. Know your enemy. Know your enemy. Look at these right here. I'm so sorry. But the thing is, know it not just for politics, but for religion, for education, for judges and courts and lawyers and police, entertainment, writing, fiction, nonfiction, poetry, film, art, Know yourself. Know your enemy. Know this circumstance, because right now, in all of this and more, to quote this, WorldNet Daily, those on the left, while reveling in misinformation, fear, hysteria, wildly inaccurate computer models, pathological hatred toward the president, toward your religion, I'll add, toward your religion, your traditions and your values, your nation, and this cocaine-like rush of exercising dictatorial powers insist they're just following the science and the data. Truth check. There's no more unscientific, indeed anti-science, major political movement in American history than today's Democratic Party. And it's deeper than that. It's the philosophy that undergirds that. It's their worldview. It's this idea of the world, this godless thing. It's an abyss. It's a pit of wickedness. I'll put this on here. Let me see here. There's an image. Let me see if I can find it. There we go. This is from a thing I don't want to really talk about. An article over at medium.com. It's totally cuckoo crazy, but mapping our roles in a social change ecosystem. And I think it's actually really good, even though they're there for equity, liberation, justice, solidarity. I mean, all those things are actually, those are good things. You know, if we take out equity and put equality, right? Because we're talking different things here. But place yourself in some of this and use this not to place yourself in a wooden way, but a way to say, look, what are things that in my own life, in my own mind, my skills, my talents, my social setting and circumstances, right? God's call on my life in the moment. What are things that I can do? Here's a number of them. Weavers. There's terms probably where these mean other things, right? I'll break this down in another episode. Experimenters, frontline responders, visionaries, builders, caregivers, disruptors, healers, storytellers, guides. Using this right here for social deconstruction is like, it's basically inverting, because all of these would be good. In fact, this is fantastic. But to use these things to say, look, we need to subvert the order, the Christian order, the conservative order, the natural order for our utopian Marxist wonderland from the pit of hell. No, not good. All right. We're going to go. I promised that I would do. Oh, yeah. Look at this. Oh, yeah. Look at this. Good. Okay, look. It's time for comments. And first, let me say, I am super duper grateful. I am super duper grateful for all of you. I love it. And I don't know what this is up here, this guy doing the clapping. Like a Weekend at Bernie guy or something. Amen, amen, amen. Holy Mother God, please pray for us, protecting, guide, and safety. God, gift health, many, many, many strong. Yeah, pray for the boyfriend, right? The kids and stuff. Amen. Please eradicate the coronavirus and cure those who have it. And keep my family safe and healthy. Yes, Pat. Yes. And in the meantime, let me encourage, and I will encourage everybody. It's one of the reasons why I started doing what I'm doing. I would encourage everybody who takes this seriously, and I believe they should. I don't think you should take the flu with a grain of salt. I don't think you should take pneumonia, man. People die. People die from that stuff, especially people with underlying problems. And in this case, like the vast majority, right? Like 94% of the people who die from coronavirus are people who had other problems. 6% died of only that. Okay, so if you really care about it, change your diet up. Spend more time in the sun. Take basic precautions. Don't be a freak about it. Eat better, exercise, get those lungs pumping. And if you do get sick, breathe good. Do some Wim Hof, man. I'm not kidding either. I'm being real serious. God bless you. Thank you so much. Or is it Tanya Barros? Thank you. Appreciate that. People talking about offering a mass in Thanksgiving for reparation and reconciliation of son. Sorry about that. I went way back. I was going to be like, I'm just going to go and just do I'm going to talk about stuff that happened last night. Earlier in the day. Because I'm like, what are they talking about in Mass? And I'm like, oh, I think I went too far. It's true. So let's go back to 10 o'clock. Okay, here we go. Oh, look at this. $5. You know what? I appreciate that. Thank you. I'll read your comment. I'm going to scroll up here. Give me a second, okay? Okay. So, Stream Elements bot running, okay, good. I don't know what that exactly means. The higher-ups laugh out loud. Arana Nation, yes. Laugh out loud at the higher-ups, yes. Arana Nation, I'm wondering, are you, am I streaming over there? Is that one of the channels I'm streaming at? I need to. They sound like powerful people. They are powerful people. Ask all the powerful people who are no longer powerful, who've lost their channels. Yeah, they are powerful people. Russian agents, maybe. I don't think all two of them. What's going on, CF Fueling? Look, CF, thank you very much for commenting earlier on another video. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, Snea, for the thank you there. It's very kind of you. All right, God bless y'all. Mother Mary protect you. Ave Maria, thank you. What is that? Archimagorus Sancti? CF asks, did I see that Tim Pool episode that mentioned 3 of the Portland rioters were teachers, 1 from kindergarten? Oh, yes, of course. Yeah. I like Tim Pool a lot. I've actually followed his stuff for a long time. I've been following his work back as far as Occupy. We were both covering Occupy. We both probably turned our backs on Occupy around the same time. Where we no longer really did much with them. I mean, they got crazy. He ended up getting a drone. Underdog, follow the money. Yes. Trapper C, this is a strong delusion. You better believe it. It's self-deception. This is a wild thing. Go back to Romans 1. So much of this, especially the spiritual dynamic, the core of this, is people pressing down the truth in exchange for a lie. They're suppressing it. It's like holding a volleyball underneath the water, and that ball or punching balloon, boom, boom, and it's underneath the water, and the air is wanting to come up. It's wanting to emerge from that water, and they're pushing it down. There ain't no ball under here. There's no punching balloon. You're like, what is that? I see it. It's distorted. It'd be clear if you let it up. You're obviously putting a lot of effort into pushing this and suppressing it down. Why don't you stop worshiping nature? Why don't you stop trying to destroy the created order? Why don't you stop? You'll be actually happier, believe it or not. Critical race crap, yes. Miscellaneous silliness, yes. It is critical race crap. Totally 100%. Underdog, now the UN blames the patriarchy. Oh, yeah. Again, they're bad at conspiracy theories. There's just garbage. Ryan, oh, from Twitter, dude, yes. Yes, Ryan, thank you for commenting. I'm glad to see this because this is the first time that I've published through Twitter. And so to be able to do this, I'm excited. Thank you. I really, really appreciate this. But you say it's nihilism. Have you read the book Nihilism, right? By Seraphim Rose. If you have not, you must. It's mind-blowing. Underdog, lose the soy products, boys. Yes. In fact, for a good reason. Look, I'm doing carnivore right now. Not much soy in carnivore. I am. I'm doing it. I'm trying. I want to get all tank. You know what I'm saying? Everything is being revealed to those of us that can see. Yes, it's true. Our leaders are evildoers. You can't love money and Jesus. We need to pray for our leaders. We need to pray, and we need to disincentivize that love of money in our leaders. YouTube is throttling everything down right now. This is Truth Seeker 333. YouTube is throttling everything down right now by about 25%. That's what I'm saying. Like, this is not, a crazy thing to be like, oh, is this going to affect me? Especially as we get closer and closer and closer. And look, even afterward, I don't want to say like it's going to end at the election. No, it's not. It's going to get worse. Because no matter which way the election goes, it's going to get worse. If Biden wins, it's going to get bad. I can tell you now, it's going to get wicked bad. Okay, people, and I'm not just saying them, I'm saying our side. And now this evil thing to promote pedophilia, yes, totally. Totally. Like the bill over in California. Sickos over there, man. That guy, by the way, that dude who did that bill is a raging pervert. Check him out. If you're an adult, if you're younger, just stay away from that, man. Even if you're an adult, you might want to stay away. The guy's just a perv. He's a raging sicko. Truth Seeker, you deleted your YouTube account 3 months ago so that you would not have any public info available for your job to use against him. Yes, see, this is what I'm saying. I know people like this. They don't want to. And look, I'm in a place, I'm down with a group or two that puts me in a risky place. People are like, are you afraid of getting doxxed? I mean, it's, whatever. I'm fortunate because, my income stream is not dependent on some honcho, like, my boss. I don't have anybody telling me what to do. I make up my own rules here. Do my own thing. I'm doing good. And of course, if you would like, make sure to donate to keep us going. Ensures that even if the wicked, nasty doxers come for me, so what? I'm putting myself out there, man. What am I supposed to do? Read my name tag. What is it right here? SpongeBob. You should see the back of my shirt. The back of my shirt was actually in a very, very, this shirt anyway, was at a very public picture not long ago that I thought was going to land me in trouble. I thought that was the end of me, and it never did. Okay, Truth Seeker, you meant your Facebook account. Okay. Your YouTube is still anonymous. All right. Pancho Villa. Where sin abounds, grace abounds much more. Yes. Vast majority of Catholics aren't Christians. Christianity is a relationship with God via the Holy Spirit. I would, of course, need to... I don't want to say... I don't know where you're coming from on this. Look, I would say that the majority of Catholic people are not living covenantally faithful lives. They may, in fact, be apostates. They may have, in fact, never truly, left their sins behind, ever. If we believe in infant baptism, we believe in a different way of looking at things. So you'd have to break that down. Serious dark underpinnings. You were raised Catholic and didn't know God for 23 years. That's super sad. I know a lot of Protestants like that too. And look, I know I'll eventually get roped into a big Catholic and Protestant debate on here, but I gotta say, when the place is burning down, and I'm looking over at somebody that you and I can, we can debate that, or we can debate the idea, how well are Catholics catechizing their own people? How well are Protestants doing it? I mean, it's pretty gross over there in Protestant land. It's not. I don't envy them at all. Okay, I don't envy them at all. Not only because of the inherent problems, but the truth is, we're at a place right now where, if the enemy is coming for both of us, and they'd like to clop the head of Jesus, no matter if he's on a crucifix or on some painting by your dinner table or whatever, doesn't matter. The fact is, the enemies are coming, and if I'm looking over, I can say, look, we can debate that all day long, but I think we got enemies right here coming for us. We need to go to town. We need to go to town on them. Defend the arena. Yeah, I have a lot of freedom for Taiwan, freedom for China. Not exactly sure. Peace and love, brother. Repent. Yeah. We are all energy, and as such, we are all connected. You'd have to unpack that. Companies such as Kroll. Send me something about Kroll. Kroll. Let me know about that. Yeah, Kroll is the enemy. So there are people in here that, talking about that. Send me that. You can do that at PALEOCRAT. Oh, I didn't change the details at the bottom of my screen. PALEOCRAT. PALEOCRAT Diaries at gmail.com. EB says, what? I thought truth was relative. No way. No way. It's such an easy thing, pew, pew, to shoot down. People go, what? I remember I went to college in the very beginning, right? In fact, I think it was the first day of school at this college, and I was going for journalism. So we're sitting in there, and these are people who are going to be journalists, the truth. And they were talking about how the truth is just what it is to you. What's true to me is true to me. What's true to you is true to you. And we can't tell each other otherwise. And I'm like, what if I don't believe that? Stars going around their head, little birdies chirping. What do you mean? What if I don't agree with that? That's your truth, not mine. I believe truth applies to you regardless of what you believe. Well, you can't do that. Well, do you believe that? Of course. No, I don't believe that either. So when the world, and I said, okay, so what are we doing here then? What are we doing in this class? I said, if I look up there and I say, how many desks are in the front of the room over there where the teacher sits? There's one desk over there. There's one chair. And I said, what if we all said that was our test? And at the end, we were like, well, okay, we're going to go ahead and write our answers down. And somebody wrote 27. And somebody wrote 1 million. And I wrote 1. And at the end, we all got the test back, and the teacher goes, you guys all graduated with 100. And you go, how? Because everything is true to whatever that person who said it believes it. We're wasting our money. This was like, what 25,000 a year or something like that? Nobody would accept that. Good show, good show. Thank you, Kashan. Kashan Petrev show. Let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and just so I can remember and keep it for record. Go check out your show. I don't want to change gear. Trump is a different head on the same dragon. We might disagree. We disagree on that. MF, I am Catholic and I thank God in Jesus I am part of his true church. Yes, man. Yes. Me too. Dramatically changed my life. If you want to know more about that, by the way, as we're running down on time, if you would like to know more about not just being in the church, I have actually a video when I converted back when it was 2007 or 2008, I think. Trying to remember. And the thing is, well, I guess it would have been 2006 or 2007. Anyway, when we first came out, I was a Protestant pastor and left Protestantism right after long thinking and praying and fighting. I fought really hard. I debated people online. It's back with like Zanga and stuff. But I have a video about that. But I apostatized, in fact, for years. And after the life and death of my firstborn, my daughter, her name is Samantha. She had childhood brain cancer, really wicked kind, super rare. But after that and through that, God began really working on our family, and we returned to the church. It'll be 3 years this Christmas. Let's see here. Drinking adrenochrome. What? I don't even know what that was in reference to about drinking adrenochrome. Yeah. Not sure exactly what that was all about. You know, I don't really know much about it. I thought I saw an article not long ago actually talking about that in a very realistic way. It wasn't just simply, you know, Hunter S. Thompson talking about it. Yes, Dave Malik. Put them in freaking jail if they break the dang law. Yes, totally. Totally. Send them to jail. Send them to jail. Becky McClelland. Amen. They should be prosecuted. Yes. Yes, we have to. I mean, we're at a point now where, I mean, there's a good possibility that the whole investigation that's going on now, there was supposed to be like checking out Strzok and all these people. No, it's don't even think about it. It's like what was it, the Huber investigation. It was a joke. It was a joke. Not true. Lies the whole time. This one is too. Everybody's been talking, I wonder what he's doing behind the scenes. Nothing. Nothing. Yeah, Trey Gowdy talked about that just yesterday, I think. Fox News. Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. It depends on what you're talking about. If a person's committed a crime, yeah, I mean, obviously, it's if I haven't, you know, what the idea of he without sin cast the first stone, I think it's another one of those, and maybe that's what it was. Maybe that was actually a reference to verses that are manipulated to be used. I can agree with this, you know, Kashin Petgrave. Know your enemy. It isn't the LGBT community. For one, I don't like using that phrase. I believe homosexuality is a spiritual disorder. I believe it's a disordered thing, very unnatural. And so I don't treat it like that it's a completely normal thing for somebody to identify as that. I mean, if they want to identify as that, you know, it's like if somebody wants to identify as a furry, it doesn't make them a furry per se. And insofar as they are a furry, that's a disordered thing. You know, but I would say that in a way you're correct. And everybody, including the elites need to be converted in the heart. People need to preach to them instead of just simply chalking them up. In fact, find out who goes to Bilderberg and Bohemian Grove. Find out, pray for them, for real. For real, pray for them. And pray for the people who are part of the LGBT community. Pray for them. Put food back. We're in real trouble as a nation. Alex Jones for president 2024. It'll never happen. No way. Yeah. Trump is all we have right now unless you believe in Jesus. So if Trump is a fake, let Jesus take his place. What? Yeah, Jesus might have this, but part of Jesus having this is that he tells you to get off your keister and do something, Ron. And maybe you are, I don't know. Maybe you are, maybe you're not. Maybe you're one of those, Jesus has it under control. Yes, dude, but he made people. He made people. Look at all these actions. Even the plagues of Egypt involved a person, people, and objects, in fact. Reference to when I was talking about spirit cooking. What last thing, CF, what is that about? And then we're closing shop. We're closing because it's late, man. What time is it? Oh, it's after midnight. Oh no, I gotta go. All right, thank you so much. Look, I talk to me in the comment section there, CF. I'm really sorry. I don't know if there's a group coming on after this. If there is, I feel terribly bad. I got to get better at this, but make sure, in the meantime, make sure to check me out. You can do that over at PALEOCRATDiaries.com. You can email me, of course, with any kind of interviews or speeches or other inquiries. I like book reviews, movie reviews. So if you've got stuff to suggest, reading, or links you would like me to talk about, or other pundits you might like me to collaborate with, PALEOCRATDiaries@gmail.com. Of course, check out my work with Paleo Cheese Podcast. Like the YouTube page. Go check it out. We talked about movies. It's a whole bunch of fun. And Meaning of Catholic. You can find that as well. I talked to Timothy earlier tonight, and we're going to be establishing a day of the week where I'm going to hop on there. We might talk about politics. We'll see. So make sure to do that. Thank you so much for joining us. Be back again on Thursday, 10 o'clock p.m. And I'll be again on Saturday, 10 o'clock p.m. Same bad time, same bad channel. Tons of fun every single time. Thank you for joining us. Have a great night. And memento mori.
If I don't talk into microphones, I don't make that mad cash. Making all that money. Making that mad loot, right?
Mind control.
So we see the minority elite imposing their ideology on an unwilling and resentful populace. This causes a backlash. People get ticked off.
The left is working long and hard to make us feel as if we've done something wrong. Worse yet, that we are the problem. Don't let people just rip on your heritage. Don't let people just rip on your traditions. Don't let people rip on your heroes. Stand up for what you believe, what made you who you are. So unless this disenfranchised majority begins standing up for what they believe in their heart of hearts to be true, I think we'd be left with nothing more than a dirge and maybe a funeral procession.